Hi, welcome to the video. My name's Dychronic, and today we're going to be taking a look at my top 10 PvP heavies in Destiny 2. And of course, I realize that this is not a spreadsheet that a lot of people really have a lot of interest in, considering that heavies don't really come up that often in PvP, but in certain game modes like Trials of Osiris or competitive, getting that heavy ammo can make the difference, and it is always interesting to find what are the best of the best. And as always, I have made a spreadsheet for this video with all of its beautiful dark theme, color-coded recommendations, and you can still find that at my Discord server, link in the description down below on the channel #spreadsheetstock. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. On screen right now, this is my spreadsheet. All of us, again, dark theme, color-coded information. If you want to know about catalysts and how to get them, if you want to know how to get certain exotic quests, I've got links to it, and of course, the top 10 sub-rankings for all the different weapons I'm considering for this video. And of course, I don't really do this like a lot of other people do. We're not going to go through just the top 10. Instead, we're going to go through each category of weapon and talk about why or why they're not being put in the top 10, and talk about the best archetypes for legendaries as well. Starting it right up here at the top for the only bow, we have Leviathan's Breath. And although it can one-shot to the body, Leviathan's Breath is slower than the Sleeper Simulant, and I find the Sleeper Simulant to be more comfortable, and it's just, why would I want to use Leviathans over Sleeper? And for the only fusion rifle in the game, we have 1000 Voices. And honestly, it can do so much damage, cover the entire battlefield from pretty much any range you need in the Crucible, and of course also kill supers because you do so much damage output. Now the problem is it's very slow. It takes a certain amount of time to charge up, to shoot, and to wait for that delay. In that time, enemies will shoot you, and you'll try to get behind cover a little early, and oftentimes you'll kill yourself because you'll tag a little bit of the cover in front of you. It's definitely a really fun weapon, but it's not the best. Up next, let's take a look at the linear fusion rifles. For the most part, linear fusion rifles are going to be charge time snipers. They don't want shot to the body, so you have to go for the headshot, and that's kind of like special ammo snipers, except they have charge time. Obviously, they do a lot more damage, meaning that they can probably one-shot headshot enemy supers, but that doesn't often come up enough. And furthermore, when you get a heavy, you want to just cause absolute carnage, not just sit back and wait for a super. The only exception being Sleeper Simulant, which does one-shot to the body, and in fact, it one-shots to the body pretty much everything in the game, including supers and the Titan in his bubble pre-patch. But not enough to make the top 10. Following that, for the snipers, obviously both of these do not one-shot to the body. The only big advantage of this is that Darcy is a 140 RPM that can two-shot to the body, unlike the 140s of the special ammo. After that, for the two shotguns, we actually have Tractor Cannon at number 10 as a very nice weapon to use. You can turn off enemy supers, you turn off enemy abilities that can get booped off the map and not be able to come back. On top of being able to pair that up, if you're using a sniper in your special ammo, you can just have a shotgun in your heavy and have a nice little combo in case enemies rush you down. There's a lot of uses for Tractor Cannon, definitely don't sleep on this weapon. Following that, let's take a look at the heavy machine guns, probably one of the more major categories for heavy weapons. Now, heavy weapons or heavy machine guns have been falling off ever since the Xenophage nerf, and people have been using the 450s a lot less. Now, when it comes down to the legendary options, we still believe the 450s to be the best of every world. Good handling, good stability, good range, good control, good availability, good perk options, just a nice little bit in between that doesn't have nearly as much flinch as the 360 or as much recoil and rapid fireness of the 900. And for the exotics, we still really like Xenophage. In my opinion, this is one of those more dangerously underrated weapons, although it did get a slight nerf in Crucible, making the RPM a little bit lower and that time to kill a lot worse. It's still a very powerful weapon, doing 150 damage anywhere to the body. Follow it up with a hand cannon shot or another shot from this weapon, hitting many enemies at the same time from basically any range, is a very powerful option. And next season, they will revert it back to the way it was, to a 120 RPM. Following that, we have the grenade launchers, pretty much the same as they've always been. They have a higher amount of ammo as compared to, for example, the rocket launcher, I think around 3 to 4 off the wall, meaning that you're going to have a higher kill potential. And on top of that, they're also not really that hard to use. When it comes down to the legendary options, just like in PvE, the 120s are the de facto better option in almost every way. They have higher blast radius, they have better damage, and the 150s don't have more ammo. So what's the point of them? When it comes to the 120 options, I favor more towards the ones that can give you a little bit more damage or a lot more velocity, like with Rangefinder or Impulse Amplifier. Things like Interference 6 has the only major damage perk that really is consistent, like Full Court, and things like Memory Interdict does have Impulse Amplifier, which is really good for its velocity. And for the exotic, we've chosen the Colony at number 6 to be an excellent option for a number of different reasons. First of all, whenever you miss, sometimes you don't miss, because that shot will just grow legs, run up the walls and ceilings, and hit your enemies anyways. And of course, this has been out for quite a while. A lot of people have learned the colony and the noise for the colony and generally just jump through the air. But that also puts them at a disadvantage. The mid-air inaccuracies with a lot of different weapons, the faster movement will give you an advantage in a lot of those fights at the very least. And of course, next season, they're going to be changing how inaccuracy works with different exotics and different weapons, so this may end up taking the cake when it comes to the grenade launchers next season. Up next, let's take a look at these swords. Firstly, you cannot 3-peek with swords anymore. They changed that a couple seasons ago unless you have ammo. And the only sword that's really worth using is going to be Black Talent. So as soon as you get ammo with that weapon, you can start 3-peeking with it. You can obviously use your light attacks if enemies get in close range, but one of the best parts about it is that its heavy attack is a ranged ball that kills basically any enemy in the game with very high aim assistance that does do AoE. And with Black Talon, you get 2 of those. So you get to have basically 2 rocket damage options on top of being able to 3-peek anywhere from close to medium range. And let me tell you, the number of times people have complained about 3-peeking in Destiny 2 is ridiculous, so do not underestimate it. And of course, finally, we have the rocket launchers, which has 5 different slots in this top 10, 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, and it definitely deserves these spots because rockets are doing incredibly well, and there's a lot of great exotics. First up, when it comes to the legendary weapons, we've chosen the high impact frames as some of the best, and the precision frames to be close behind that. Everything else does suffer for a couple different reasons. Firstly, it comes to stats, and the best stats for rocket launchers in order are going to be blast radius, handling, and then velocity. Velocity you don't really need to be that high, and the ones that have the best stats for that are the high impact frames, and the precision's right behind after that, and with tracking makes that even a little bit better. And although you could probably get some sick kills with a lot of the other options, these stats are the best on these rockets. Following that, for the first exotic rocket I wanted to talk about today, at number 7, we have the Truth, which is an excellent rocket. Has tracking, has proximity detection, has good stats overall, and although it doesn't have more ammo when you get it off the wall like it used to, which was kind of ridiculous, it is still a very good overall rocket and is used in Gambit and Crucible alike. Following that, at number 5, a weapon that I would say a lot of people are missing out on and are definitely underrating, and that is going to be Deathbringer. Firstly, they did patch it, I believe, to make the shots fly faster, making them a bit more consistent and a bit more terrifying to use. Secondly, you bought like 7 different shots around the battlefield, being able to hit many enemies at the same time that are very good at killing supers. And thirdly, it is essentially quiet. People don't hear it very well, and it will follow and chase them without them even knowing it's there. There's a lot of advantages for Deathbringer, and of course the Catalyst probably makes it even better, and I would highly recommend it. Following that, at number 3, we have the Wardcliff Coil. And if you have not seen the Wardcliff Coil, you've probably not played the Crucible, because it is essentially a shotgun rocket. Kills literally everything from close to medium range, and sometimes even goes farther to longer ranges. And if you are an enemy with a barricade, you're probably dead. If you're an enemy with a super, you're probably dead. I think a bubble might be able to survive it, but it'd probably be a little bit close. The Wardcliff Coil is not only extremely effective and is super killing capabilities, it is also very easy to use. It's a shotgun rocket. Just shoot it at everything in front of you and they die. And a fun pro tip, if halfway through the volley of the Wardcliff Coil you just face towards a wall or the floor and you kill yourself before finishing the volley, you actually drop your heavy ammo on the floor for your teammates or for you to come back and pick up another rocket. Used to be back in the day when we had Rocket Scavenger in the Crucible, we could pick up 3 rockets off of a thing off the ground, fire the first 2 at enemies, fire the 3rd one at our feet, go pick that up for 3 more rockets. It was a little ridiculous. And finally, at number 1, you guys know it, you probably hate it, it's gonna be Galahorn. Now, obviously, Galahorn comes from the 30th anniversary that you have to pay money in order to use, and it is overpowered, in my opinion, in both PvE and PvP. And there's gonna be people who say, nah, it's not overpowered, but hear me out. When it comes down to the different rockets, Galahorn has everything. It has, first of all, really good stats, nearly maxed out blast radius, very high handling, including the perk Pack Hunter, which gives you increased handling when you're standing near allies, which is very likely to occur, on top of the velocity not being bad either. Secondly, it has tracking, meaning that, again, tracking being a very powerful thing to have on any of the rockets, making it easier to hit, and very good for things like Gambit or long-range fights. On top of that, it also has built-in proximity detection, similar to Truth, although maybe not as significant or powerful as Truth. And those 2 perks are literally things that don't exist on the weapon. Those are built in. You just have to know that it does that. And finally, it has Woolpack rounds. This is basically like Deathbringer plus Eyes of Tomorrow plus Wardcliff Wardcliff kind of mushed into the target at once, which hits a lot of extra enemies or running away enemies with those extra Wolfpack rounds. And if they die to those, they spawn more Wolfpack rounds to then kill your teammates that are faster and stronger. There is, in my opinion, no reason to use any other rocket other than Galahorn if you have Galahorn. It just has everything that everything else does, and that is a problem. And if you haven't seen it already, these videos, these spreadsheets would not be possible without the support of my patrons on Patreon. And if you like these videos, you like these spreadsheets, including all the other ones that I make, please consider checking out my Patreon, link in the description down below. And specifically, a big thank you to Mom and Dad, Chris Thompson, Kellyanne, Alstrike, Jacob Berg, Monix, Stu Buckland, and Unipanther, and Casey Reagan for their support on Patreon. That was pretty fast, and I did it. That's it. Hope you guys did enjoy my name is Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.